Hey everyone, welcome back to the Jess Berry podcast. Today we have Ariel Garcia joining us. He has the most amazing taco business. His tacos are incredible. I had the chance to try them at the event that we met at recently. It's a branding mastermind with Travis Brady, his millionaire mastermind. Amazing event, learned a lot and got to meet a lot of really high level entrepreneurs such as yourself, Ariel. We connected and I got to hear some of your story and I was just blown away. I'm like, people need to hear this because a lot of the times the things that we've been through, we tend to just keep them to ourselves, and there's a lot of power, I believe, in sharing the adversity that we've gone through and the ways that we've been able to do that and to be able to learn from each other and our experiences. So I want to say thank you so much for coming on and being vulnerable, being courageous to share parts of your story and help others who can resonate with you.
Thank you, Jess. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a
You're
pleasure.
welcome. So, first of all, if you guys aren't watching and you're just listening, Ariel has these eyes that you can just tell he's been through so much and he's experienced a lot of joy and a lot of sorrow. And I love the authenticity behind who you are and how you show up. It's very touching. You have such a beautiful, sweet spirit. And so I just wanted to point that out and hope that you know that that's how you come across.
Thank you. I didn't know
You're,
that part. Thank you.
yeah, you're a beautiful soul.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So let's get into your story. So you grew up in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I grew up in Los Angeles, out in the San Fernando Valley, a little bit out in South Central. South Central's like the main place. But as I grew older, I was out in the San Fernando Valley. Yeah,
Yeah, and do you still have family out there?
I do. I do. I still have my youngest daughter, Ariel
Mm-hmm.
Estrella, actually. Her middle name is
Mm,
Estrella, and she's out there. She's still back home.
okay.
Got my mom back there.
Okay, perfect. And for those of you who don't know, because we didn't mention yet, so you probably don't know, but the name of your taco business is
Is Apa Tacos Estrella. So
it.
sarcastic came from Estrella wanting Taco Bell every year, that every day that year. So it's sarcastic. It's like, damn, tacos again, Estrella.
I love that, and much healthier tacos, I'm sure, than the fast food.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Much fresher, much actual meat.
Yeah, right. That's important. So you grew up in Los Angeles. Did you grow up with siblings?
I've got an older sister who's special needs. She's literally a 4 year old in her mind, but she's
Mm,
older than me. Oh, she's about to be 49 this month. At the end of this month, actually, on the 29th. You know,
awesome.
big ups to my sister Xochitl. And a younger brother who is 42. I want to say 5 years younger, so
Okay.
he's 42. Who he lives up in Washington.
Okay. And then, so growing up with them, what was life like growing up with your siblings?
It was kind of tough growing up with a sister who's special needs. Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
always looking, everybody's always, talking to themselves every time we walk by. But I was always protective of her. I was always that one that if you're looking at my sister, I'm going to say something to you.
Mm,
I've always been outspoken when it comes to her, never held back. It was tough though, growing up, watching her have seizures and stuff like that.
mm.
As a kid, you don't know about those things until it actually happens, and
Yeah.
it's scary.
Yeah. What would you do when that happened? How did you deal with that?
Jeez, I think thank God it didn't happen that much, that often. It happened a few times that I can remember growing up. One time we were actually on our way back from the lake, and it was my cousin, myself, and my sister sitting in the back of the pickup truck. Because back then you used to ride in the back.
Mm,
And so we're sitting back there when all of a sudden she starts having a seizure, and man, you got to put her. I had to put her on her side, make sure that she wouldn't choke and whatnot, and just hold
yeah.
her till it passed, and then after that, just keep on holding her because she's afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I could just imagine the pain that she would suffer.
Was that something that you were taught to do, or did you just intuitively know to do that?
I think that just intuitively happened that day because that was the first time I had ever seen it happen, and so I wasn't ever prepared for it. I
Hmm.
didn't see it. She always took meds, so for the most part, she was always good. For some reason that day it just happened.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important to be able to listen to your intuition, and a lot of times we're in tune with that when we're children, and it's easy to lose track of that as we grow up. But as we dive more into your story, it's pretty apparent you do have that strong connection to your intuition, and I'm sure it's not always easy to be in tune with it, but you've been making a lot of really positive moves and changes in your life, and you're making an impact on other people. So good job listening to your intuition.
Thank you.
Yeah. So growing up in LA, as you got older, you were surrounded by a lot of gang activity. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I grew up around, a lot of friends. A lot of friends are gang members.
Mm-hmm.
Love my boys. They're all great bunch of guys. Obviously, some went the wrong route. Some made it out of there. Some are still involved, but grew up out of it and aren't active anymore. So yeah,
What do you think is one of the biggest factors that determines if somebody stays in that way of living or gets out?
I think it's just mindset, where you are in your mindset. I never really liked the gang activity per se, I guess. I never really thought it was a cool thing to fight over a
Yeah.
street that you didn't own, I guess. I don't know.
What was that like? Because like where I grew up, probably the complete opposite. I grew up in Utah where it was like not a whole lot going on out in the streets. How was the day to day life for you growing
Day
up?
to day life was normal,
Yeah.
we all still went to school. Obviously, I've seen a few things at school, fights with gang members. I remember one time there was a shooting. There was a drive by shooting because there was actually a couple gang members from a different gang that pulled up to the school, and the ones there, kind of got at them, and somehow these guys got away. They ended up leaving, and they came back, and they came back with a vengeance. Thank God nobody was hurt, but yeah, they came back, and stuff like that. You grow up,
Mm-hmm.
it seems normal to you. It was normal to me to grow up and stuff like that. I knew,
Yeah.
around the neighborhood, if a different gang came around, you know it because you could hear the gunshots or whatnot.
Mm. Yeah, that's a big difference for me. I think the first time I heard a gun shot was when I actually shot a gun, and I was probably like 18 or something. Do you feel like since it was so normal, did it affect your nervous system? Did you feel like you were kind of in fight or flight, or were you just totally used to it?
It was, I guess you could say I was used to it. The only other time I heard a gunshot outside the neighborhoods was when I joined the military. So
Hmm.
at that point, it was totally different. It was a different atmosphere. It's fun
Yeah,
being behind that rifle, behind that M60 and stuff.
yeah. Did you tell me you served in the military? I don't remember that.
I don't think I did. I don't think I did. But yeah, I
Yeah,
was in the army.
cool. Well, thank you for your service. Um, how long were you in the army?
I didn't. I'm not that guy that served like all his time. I actually served
Yeah.
only a year. Actually, a little less than a year. When I got told I was going to Korea, and for some reason at 17, I was like, no, no, and I decided. The funny thing is that I went to my drill sergeant and I let him know, like, hey, I just found out where we're gonna be stationed, and you could either send me home or you could change my school. I changed my MOS and send me to flight school in Italy for some reason. I was okay with going to Italy.
And so, what, he sent you home?
No, he definitely didn't send me home. So I ended up leaving. I ended up going AWOL. 3 months, became a deserter, went back, turned
Mm-hmm.
myself in, got discharged, got an honorable discharge regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Well, thank you for sharing that. And AWOL, for those who are not in the military, means you want to
ran
explain
away.
that? Yeah.
You ran out.
Yes.
You left.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that decision like? Because I know probably almost every single person who enlists, like that crosses their mind at one
Well,
point or another.
it. I don't know. I guess during basic training and my MOS, I had to talk a couple guys off the ledge.
Mm,
They're literally gonna kill themselves, and I had to talk them down. And I think that kind of put a dent in me that I didn't really want to deal with that, I guess.
Yeah.
It was a little tough. It was hard having to talk these guys down from wanting to kill themselves to enjoying their time there, which was weird because you would think that would make me want to stay, but it didn't.
Hmm.
It didn't. It kind of, like I said,
Yeah.
it kind of frightened me on how many more times would I have to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. You meet so many different people from all walks of life, and a lot of younger people join the military. Both my brothers joined when they were like 17. I joined a little bit later. I was like 22, but um, you do have that sense of like you're kind of just stuck there. Like you're there when you show up for basic training, and they're telling you all this stuff, and they're like, you just signed your life away. And even people in my basic training when I went, they were struggling with that, with their mental health and feeling suicidal and stuff. And so yeah, it's really challenging, and it can be easy to look at people like that and have a sense of judgment and be like, it's really not that bad. You're here, you're getting paid to eat food and work out and learn things, but it can be really hard. And it's just a good reminder that no matter who you are or what you're going through, nobody really knows what's going on but you. And to be able to surround yourself or have people like you who show up and can help in that capacity, it can be really impactful. So I'm glad that they had you there. Yeah. And then, we all get to choose our different walks of life. So you were feeling like it wasn't for you, and then you took
Well,
action on that. Is that right?
at the time, I already had a baby. I already had my oldest was just Jessica. Yeah, she was already what, two? She was 3 at the time, and so going to Korea wasn't really my biggest. Uh,
That would be hard.
yeah, that would have been a little hard, but yeah, and so I guess that you could say that's what kind of got me from leaving.
Do you ever look back on that experience and feel like any sense of failure from running away from that, or do you feel like that was the best decision for you?
I don't look at it like a sense of failure, and I don't regret any of the choices that I've made.
Mm-hmm.
May I have made a few of them different? Yeah, probably. But I made the ones that I made, and all I can say about that is that, you know what? Whether they're the best choices that could have been made makes no difference right now. There's that
Mm-hmm.
coulda, shoulda, woulda. And all I look at it is like I gotta make the best of the choices that I've made to get me to where I'm wanting to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So, what got you into the taco business?
So what got me into the taco business was at the time I've been I've been working with a print shop, um, who actually the owner back in 2015 ended up committing suicide.
Mm.
In 2012, when this all started, was over an injury that I got, and having to go through court and all that. It's a big thing for a lot of people. I met a lot of people going through that workers' courts, that were in there for years. I'm talking. I met this one lady who was there for 10 years over a shoulder injury, and you kind of
Oh,
figure at some point you gotta make that choice of cut your losses and go.
yeah.
But for me, I had gone through a back injury, and it was tough. It got so tough that there was days when I didn't have any more income coming in. The company wasn't paying. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
work. Workers' comp's not paying nothing. So there was days when I had to tell my daughter Estrella that I couldn't feed her.
Mm.
And as a man, that's tough. Not being able to provide. Big. It's a big thing. Before this, I didn't believe in depression. I never thought men could actually go through depression, but it took for me to go through this event to find out a whole lot of things about myself.
Mm.
Going through depression, addiction. It was tough. It was tough, but that's in 2016 when they finally paid out and they settled. I went, and it was either one of two things. I was either going to blow all the money or I was going to invest it. And The one thing that I liked the most was tacos. I love eating tacos. I'm a big foodie, and so I figured, I can make some tacos, and I can make sure that they're the way that because I'm very picky with my food. So I needed to make sure that I was gonna make a taco that everybody was gonna be okay with and everybody's gonna love. 2016, I started Apa Tacos Estrella, and I haven't looked back since.
It's a really good example of using life for you instead of against you. Like, you can't control what's given to you sometimes, but you took that and you chose to invest and make the most of it.
Yeah, yeah. What else can you do? You gotta roll with them punches. You gotta deal. You gotta play them cards that were dealt to you. You
Mm-hmm.
can't always just throw them in.
Yeah, and I really respect and admire you for bringing up the mental health challenges that you were going through at that time, because that's not easy. I know it's really easy to feel alone when we go through things like that or talk about it, but I think the more that we talk about it, whether you're a man or a woman, like, we all have emotions. We all go through difficult
Yeah,
times, and so hearing how other people got through that can be super helpful. What was one of the biggest things that helped you through that time of depression and addiction?
my daughter Estrella. So I remember right before that happened. Well, not right before that happened, but right before I made this choice to get myself up, I called her mom and I told her to come and come and pick her up. Just that I was gonna up. That I needed her to come and pick her up and pick up all her stuff because I needed to go away. And yeah, I needed to go. I didn't know where I was gonna go. I didn't tell her anything other than that. And so she came, and I remember packing up all her stuff in her car. And when I told my daughter that I was gonna leave and that I would be back soon, the look in her eyes, just something about it just destroyed me. And so once they left, I went back inside and I locked myself up, and I just like an addict, I just kept going. I was done.
Mm-hmm. And this was drugs, or?
Yeah. And that night, I remember seeing the image of her face, and at that time, I had 3 ounces of meth with me. So something just snapped in me, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna do this. And I got up and I flushed the 3 ounces down the toilet, and I was like, nah, I can't go out like that. It's not in me to go out like that. I'm not a person that gives up. I may struggle, whatever it is, but I don't give up. And so I flushed down the 3 ounces, and I decided from that point on that I wasn't gonna let this get to me. And so the next day I got up. Well, the next day I slept it all off, and the following day, I called up a friend of mine who's a contractor. I called him up. I was like, "Hey, do me a favor. Can you take me over to Home Depot? I gotta go." So he sent his kids over because he was out of town. He sent his
Mm-hmm.
kids over. They came, gave me a ride, came back, and I built Estrella a loft bed, one that went over my bed. So that Friday I picked her up from school, and I brought her back to the house, and I was like, look, this is why I needed you to go away. I wanted to surprise you. And that look of, when you're a kid, all you see is your parents are your heroes. And I saw that look in her again, and it's the best feeling in the world. But yeah, that's literally what got me out of that situation, and to keep moving forward. And a few months after that, in June, they settled, and that's when I created the company. And I went out, bought all my equipment, went out and bought a new truck, and then a whole bunch
Yeah.
of other stuff came after that.
The next part, like, it's even crazier.
Oh
I
yeah,
remember you
I've
were
been through
telling me
some.
before I get into that. It's really, it's healing for me to hear fathers talk about their daughters and their kids with the level of love and compassion and care that you have, because I didn't experience that. And so I grew up with that kind of feeling of like brokenness, or like this hole that I feel like was supposed to be there from having a loving, supportive father. And when I didn't, and I had one that actually hurt me a lot, it created that gap. And so when I hear other people talking about their kids, or I get to see a father interacting with their child, and the kids like so happy, and you can just tell that they love each other, it's a really beautiful thing. And at first it was really hard for me to see that actually growing up, because it would put me into that state of, oh, like, why don't I have that? Like, what's wrong with me? It made me feel sad and like I was missing out. But the more that I embarked on my healing journey, the more I'm able to see that from a space of love and gratitude, that that kid gets to experience that. And so hearing about your daughter and your guys' relationship and how much she means to you, that's a beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing that. So you started that, and tell us a little bit about the first part of that journey.
So it started in June, and I'm gonna tell you that in September I had to shut it down because I had an experience. What is that? Memorial Day weekend in
Yeah, yeah.
September. It's a
Mm-hmm.
long weekend, and I had an experience with none other than with some gang members.
Mm.
Back in California, they have a certain way of doing things out there, and it's not all businesses or anything like that. Just certain ones and certain people, and so it just so happens that I ran into some of them who try to tax you for having a business for protection or whatever the case may be. And mind you, I have no hard feelings towards any of them. I pray that God is looking out for them regardless. But yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a Tuesday morning right after the holiday and holiday weekend, and Tuesday morning 10:30 a.m. I get a knock at the door, and I open the door, and sure enough it's a revolver pointed at my head.
Oof.
I tried to close the door, but it was a couple of them, so they pushed the door in, and we wrestled a little bit up until they got loose, and it just cracked me over the head with the butt of the gun, and yeah, it was like, okay, just let me relax, let them do what they gotta do, and they kept telling me that they were sent there to kill me, so I was like, well, do what you gotta do, homie, because there ain't nothing else to do. But they kept asking me for money. Where's the money at? I was like, dude, I ain't got no money, bro. I just started this. Like, I have no money. And so they hooded me up. They tied my hands behind my back, and they walked me out into the street at 10:30 in the morning like this. And
Oh
there's
my gosh.
nobody in sight because everybody's at work. So I'm
Wow.
just like, just my luck. We jump into the truck, into my truck actually, and they just start driving. They're driving, and I'm just wondering what's next, what's gonna happen next, and they're driving around and up and down the freeway, going at 100 and so many miles per hour. Decided to pull into the neighborhood, and they dropped one of the guys off. So now I'm like, okay, well now I get a chance to kind of do something. Again, I'm not one to just give up and fuck it, let's do. No, I'm gonna try to do whatever I can, and so I was able to get my hands loose and I remember getting those, they were my shoelaces to top it off. I remember getting my shoelaces, wrapping them up in my hands, and I'm sitting behind this guy's thinking, okay, so if I just choke him out right now, I'll just put my knees behind the seat, in front of me, and I just won't let go. But
Jeez.
at the same time, I'm thinking, where's the gun?
Mm-hmm.
What do he do with the gun? Where does he have it near him? Where's it at? So I'm thinking either I'm gonna get shot or I'm just gonna kill this guy. One of the two. But mind you, at this time we're just going at 100 and something miles an hour on the freeway, and I'm wondering why is nobody even seeing this guy just speeding through the freeway? Where's the cops at when you need them?
Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking, okay, do I do this? When all of a sudden he pulls off the freeway and he goes into this like city of Palmdale. And it's a lot of terrain out there. So he's up there and we're driving and he's driving into these little streets and they're like little cul-de-sacs, I guess you could call them, because they're the inside of that little street. There's always like three little houses. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like a driveway. And I'm just thinking, okay, oh my God, this guy's either lost and he's for real about what he's saying, or what else? Like, that's the only thing that's going through my mind. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking this guy's lost, and if he pulls into the right street, I'm done. And he pulled into like two or three streets, and then I was like, you know what? That's when I just started praying. I was like, God, just don't let me go out like a bitch. Excuse my language, but I was
Yeah.
just like, don't let me go out like a bitch. just make sure that once they got me there, I just fuck it. Let's just do it. Don't start crying, begging for life, because that shit ain't gonna happen. If they get you this far, it's a wrap. So just be a man about it and take it. And next thing you know, he just pulls up. He pulls over and he stops in the middle of the road and he jumps out the car and he's like, "Man, tie yourself or you're gonna be screwed." And I was like, "What the fuck?" That which was weird, but when I pulled the hood off, I recognized who they were, and sure enough, it was the guys where I used to post up at,
Hmm.
where I actually started the business. It was
Yeah.
them. It was a couple of them that I had seen a few weeks back, and never thought it would happen to me, but it did, and so that kind of shook me up. Shook me up a lot, not only for
Mm-hmm.
myself, but because I used to take my daughter with me all the time, and then I had ladies working with me, and they didn't deserve for something like that to happen to them. God forbid.
Mm-hmm.
So it shook me up, and it took the rest of the month. I was just in hiding basically. I didn't really know what to do until my cousin, who's a Christian, she told me that I needed to get out. I needed to go and be with God. I
Hmm.
didn't know what it meant at the time, but I don't know if anybody's familiar with Three Rivers. It's up by Sequoia National Park, and so I went up there. She sent me up there, and God has a funny way of doing things because anytime that they would go camping there every year, but anytime that they would want to go, they'd have to call ahead like 3 months in advance or so because it was always booked. And so that day she was like, "Hey, you really need to go. Let me call you right back." And so she called up there, and like I said, God has a funny way of doing things, and they answered the phone. They answered the phone, which they never do. She says they never answer the phone. They always have to call her back. But that day they answered the phone. They had an opening, so she booked the whole week for me, and I was up there for 7 days. And so it's kind of weird, but I went. And being out in nature for 7 days by yourself is kind of scary, I guess you could say. You're like just out there, and you. But it was cool. It was fun. I had a good time, and that's where it hit me that
Were you just like by yourself or like in a group
no,
or
no, no. I was just by
just
myself,
you?
literally
Oh,
just me and God,
nice.
just me and God. And
Wow.
I was there. I mean, and I was just that's where I got the idea that what, I don't need to be out on the street like that. I don't need to put anybody in danger like that. We're just gonna do catering. This ain't gonna
Mm.
stop me. He's only got me to do it better. And
Mm.
so when I got back, I called up the ladies and I was like, "Hey, we're going back to business. All right, so get ready. We're gonna start doing." And so I started catering, strictly catering, and it's been good. It's been good ever since.
Wow. Another amazing example of having that adversity and it set you back, but it sets you up to move forward
Yeah,
at the same time.
yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like a movie. I'm just imagining them like coming in your house and you're on the
yeah.
freeway and then oh my
It's
gosh.
it's been it's been a crazy ride, but like I said,
Yeah.
God has a sense of humor. I guess.
Yeah. So would you say um since that time, how do you continue walking with God in your life?
It's not easy. It's not easy, that's for sure. And I'm not gonna lie, there's been times that I've gone back to drugs. It wasn't just all of a sudden I was good. No, I went back to drugs for a while. I literally, just so y'all know, on Sunday, this past Sunday, I literally went and got baptized again, and I gave
Wow.
myself to God and let him know that what, this is it. Like I need you to I need you to do something in my life now that's gonna help everyone out because this is too much already. It's tough being a man of God, but it's a great feeling. It's good knowing that you're human, regardless of the fact I'm still human, and there's still those you backstep a few times, but you're still in
Mm-hmm.
it's not an easy walk. I'll tell you that much. It's not. You just gotta let go and let God, and it's gonna be hard.
Well, if it was easy, it probably wouldn't be fulfilling.
True.
That's what I found in my life. That's why I'm like, all right, whatever. I found the more that I lean into fear in my life, that's where I tend to grow, and that's where the next best version of myself is waiting for me. It's on the other side of that fear. And hearing your story as well, I can see those moments where you were doubting, you felt completely alone, afraid. Instead of running away from that, you leaned into it. And even with going AWOL with the military, you could see that on one hand of giving up, but on the other hand, it's like you chose to lean into that. Like, you didn't give up on yourself, essentially. Like, you felt what was right for you and your situation, and you leaned into that. The more you lean into that and trust God with the process and let go, the more we step away, the more space we create for God to step into our lives. So moving forward, you've got your taco business, doing catering out here in Arizona. And what is next for you? I know you mentioned when we first got on the call some exciting news. I don't know if you want to share that.
Well, yeah, I've got a whole nother venture coming up. I have a business that I want to start up, and it's actually called Forward, and it's to help men, women from all walks of life to move forward in life. And meaning, people nowadays have forgotten or lost their way as far as a purpose. They don't have sense of purpose in life anymore. We see that with a lot of people being homeless, a lot of people just giving up and just not wanting any responsibility. And I believe that um there's a lot of good organizations out there. There is. And I have nothing bad to say about them. I just don't think that they're really providing the help that people need. A lot of times these companies are providing handouts, and people do not need handouts. From personal experience, I know that I didn't need someone to just bring me some money or bring me some food or whatever the case may be. Like, I needed a job. I needed to move forward in my life, and I wasn't gonna move forward if mentally I was stuck in the same place. I feel like God's been putting that in my heart a lot lately, where the next venture is going to be starting up another company. Again, it's going to be called Forward, and it's going to be helping people move forward and helping people learn how to be responsible again, and helping people in all sorts of ways. Obviously, if we I'm hoping that if we can build it up properly, that we'll be able to help people with housing. But nothing is going to be free, unfortunately. Everything has to be paid for, and people are going to have to pay for it out of their pocket. But in order to do that, obviously they need work. So we're going to provide them with the training that they need while getting experience and being paid for. Because I remember going through school and IT training when I was going through that disability. It was tough. It was tough having to go to school and focus and try to get through my classes, wondering how am I even going to get to class tomorrow? How am I going to make it here? What am I going to eat today? What am I going to feed my kid? So I want to provide a training program for people who will want to learn something new, get paid while going through this, and be able to pay for their own way. Obviously, they're going to be able to pay for housing. They're going to be able to pay for these resources that they're getting, while at the same time, that money that they're putting in, paying for these things, will be put into a savings account for them. So that way, when they're done with the program, not only have they just went through a training where now they have experience, because no one could get a job without experience, but these folks will definitely have that ability, and that money that we put aside for them, there is going to go to housing for them for when they get out. This way they could just focus on keep on moving forward.
That's a beautiful mission. Yeah, I really want to see this succeed. Is that just going to be in Arizona?
No, definitely not just going to be in Arizona. I'm going to start it in Arizona, but I hope that it takes off to the point where we're going to be able to spread out throughout the 50 states.
Very cool. Is there a timeline for what that looks like, or?
Well, it's already starting. I've already talked to a couple of people that we're going to be moving in on this. I can't really give timelines just yet, but we're hoping that this year we'll start the first step of it.
But that's what it's all about, is those baby steps, especially in the initial phases of anything. So that's awesome. Very, very, very cool.
You're the first to hear about this, so.
Thank you for sharing. This is one of the last questions I like to ask. If you could go back in time and say something to your 10-year-old self, what would you say?
If I could go back and tell my 10-year-old something,
Yeah,
I'd be like, get ready for a ride.
buckle
Get
up.
ready for the ride of your life.
Yeah, because it is your life.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What do you think he would say to you?
I think be like, bring it on. Let's go.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, Ariel, you have an amazing attitude. Love all of your stories. You're just so genuine and down to earth, and I can tell you care a lot about your family and just the people in your life. So that's a beautiful thing. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience before we hop off?
Just know that God's always there. God's always
Mhm.
there, and no matter how hard it may seem, it's harder when you do it by yourself. So don't ever be afraid to ask for help.
That is a powerful lesson. And it a true skill to learn how to receive help. The more you exercise that muscle, the more blessings you're
Yeah.
gonna attract in your life. So I love that. Thank you. All right, Ariel, where can people find you to connect, follow your business, stay up to date on Forward?
Look us up on Instagram, Facebook. Instagram, it's APA Tacos underscore Estrella, ESTRELLA. For those of you who don't know how to spell it yet.
Thank you.
Facebook, it's AP Tacos. You can look us up online at our website, apatacosestrella.com, or give us a call, 747-237-9976. Whatever it may be, whether you just want to talk or you want some tacos, hit
Hey,
me up.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ariel. This has been great. For those of you who are listening, please share with somebody going through adversity who you think could resonate with the wisdom that Ariel has shared here. And remember how special you are, how God has a purpose for you. And a lot of times your purpose can be found in your pain. And so have courage, be brave, be still, look inside, and remember that you are exactly who God made you to be.